I'm Rob. I'm an alcoholic and addict. I was born April 17th, 1971, here in Dayton. I normal childhood. My dad passed away when I was 2. Um, Moved off of Main Street here in Dayton, up into South Dayton. Pretty normal childhood up till about the age of, say, 7 or 8, when I had my first drink, which was homemade grape wine. I liked the feeling. I liked what it did for me. I got caught. Mother proceeded to tell me drink as much as I wanted. So I did, and got sick and was sick for days. I remember that like it was yesterday. And I probably didn't drink again for, I would say, 15 years. But I found that doing drugs was a little easier. I was introduced to marijuana probably at the age of 12, 13. Started doing that. That progressed real quickly into pills. Found something, LSD. Started doing that. It was really cheap. Found out that I didn't have enough money. Started breaking into homes. Dress up in a newspaper bag like a paper boy, knock on the door. If nobody answered, I'd kick the door in and be in and out in a couple minutes. Got caught soon after that. 11 B&Es, breaking and enterings. So I was introduced shortly thereafter to a 12-step program where I had to take urine tests for 4 years. And soon after, even though I knew that if I drank or did drugs, that if I did this, there would be consequences. And I did it anyway. And that's the insanity of the disease, doing the same thing, expecting different results for me. And so I failed a drug test at the age of about 14, maybe 15. And I was sentenced to a long-term treatment center, which was 7, 8 months, maybe 9. It's been so long ago, I can't really remember. Completed that. I was introduced to the 12-step program then. I believe that was 1986 or 87. And I proceeded to stay sober for 3 years. And didn't really do much, didn't work on myself. Got involved with a girl, got engaged, relapsed, got sober again, got a job, started doing a little bit more this time. Stayed sober for about another 5 years after that. I have a control problem. I like to control things. And the two things I can't control are amongst a lot of other things, but the two major ones for me was relationships and death. And the relationship kind of faltered, and I had no tools to work through that situation, those emotions. So I turned to drugs and alcohol again. And for about 3 years, I was back out there, jumping from couch to couch. Started smoking crack cocaine. That took me to an all-new low. I was arrested by the SWAT team for armed robbery. The guy didn't show up for whatever reason, and I was sentenced to a halfway house about an hour from Dayton, Hamilton. As kind of a last chance. They gave me multiple chances, and I blew every chance. I just wasn't ready yet. I was still self-will. I can do this. I can I can think my way out of this thinking problem that I've got. So I was there for about 6 months. Ended up jumping out a window, walking about 8 hours back to Dayton. Was on the run for about 3 years. During that 3-year period, I committed 52 felonies, 52 F4 felonies, writing bad checks. I was picked up about 96, I think it was, 1996, facing 52 or 54 fourth-degree felonies that carried 6 months on each one. So I could have possibly done 25, 26 years in prison. And they gave me another chance. I blew that. You know, I had so many chances in my life. And probably the best thing that ever happened to me is I went to prison. Pickaway Prison here in Ohio. And I did about a little over 2.5 years. Got out somewhere in 98. Didn't know where I was going to go. Didn't even know if I was wanting to stay sober. I stayed sober during that time that I was in prison. Did my time. And I met up with a gentleman. I was cutting grass for some extra side money. And I ended up moving in with this gentleman who had just got a divorce, and he was having problems with his heart and with his liver. And I proceeded to take care of the property, and then later him became a caregiver for about 10 years. During that time I stayed sober. And this gentleman had 9 heart attacks in front of me, and I'd have to drop down, give him CPR, wait for the paramedics. And I learned a lot during that time. I was sober probably 11 and a half years. And there again, I wasn't working a program. I wasn't working on the real problem. The real problem wasn't drugs and alcohol. It was me. Why did I turn to drugs and alcohol? And then again, relationships and death. So he ended up passing away about 2009. And I had lost all my social skills. You know, I was giving this man 24/7 care. You know, I'd become reclusive, you know, almost agoraphobic. Didn't want to go outside, didn't want to be with people, didn't want to be around people. And so I'd relapsed again. This time I had put a gun out on the table, and I was going to take my own life, because I had got to the point where I told myself drinking and drugs was not an option anymore. But what was becoming an option was committing suicide. And for some unknown reason, I like to call it my higher power, God, saved my life that day. And I relapsed, and I didn't take my own life. And I soon thereafter started smoking methamphetamine for about another 10 years. And that took me to a whole new low. I had bought a house in that 10-year period. Had bought a car, never had to work again. And I was so miserable, I wanted to take my own life. And I was just existing. I was an empty shell. I'd succeeded into doing what I'd set out to do, was not feel. That's the reason why I drink. I don't know how to cope with my feelings. I don't know how to walk through them like I'm supposed to. And so at any time something so traumatic would come up, I would turn to the only thing I knew, which was substance abuse or, you know, alcoholism. So that's what I did. And at the end of this 10 years, I had successfully drank and did drugs until I had no emotions. I was just existing. And let me tell you, that's no way to go through life. When each day I woke up, I was sad that I woke up. I didn't want to be awake. I didn't want to be here anymore. I'd had a house fire. I'd lost my house, my cars. overnight I'd become homeless. I leave 1 minute and come back. Fire department's at my house. You know, I proceed to live in this burned out abando of mine for 2 or 3 years with no electricity, no power, no water, no nothing. Just kind of existing. And, I didn't think it could get any lower. I'd already pretty much at the bottom of the barrel, I thought. But I ended up being forced out of the house. And then I became homeless, truly homeless. And I was kind of moved in with a couple people, and just not even a couple miles from where I'm at now. I grew up in this neighborhood, and it was the SWAT had come in and arrested a guy that was in the house, and after they had left, they released me, and I was in an alley, and I remember praying. The only thing I could do is I prayed to God, and I says, I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get sober, to have a better life. I'm willing, I'm willing to become open-minded, willing, and teachable. And right then, a girl I was in treatment with 35 years ago when I was 15 years old in 1987, this girl drove by and she recognized me, and she's still sober today. And she looked at me and she said, "Rob." And I said, "My gosh, how are you doing?" And she's like, "Are you ready?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm ready. I'm so ready." And I tell people that was my burning bush right then. That's when I asked, and I asked my higher power for my God for help, and he sent me a person. He didn't send me a paramedic. He didn't send me a cop. He didn't send me a fireman. He sent me somebody in a 12-step program. Probably one of the few people that could actually have helped me. And it was not on my time, it was on his time. And I proceeded to get into a treatment center. She'd set up everything. All I had to do was go. I didn't know. I didn't even know my insurance would cover treatment, a local treatment center here in Dayton. And so I went in for my orientation. I'd paid off all my fines. I didn't want to have anything to do with the people of the past. Cut all ties. Willing to start a new life. And I make it 45 minutes in treatment through the orientation. And they thought I was dual diagnosed. So they told me that they can't treat dual diagnosed people, and that they wouldn't accept me. And so I had no money. Nothing. I didn't know what to do. I called the girl again. She says, "I'll pick you up." She picks me up, and she says, "We'll figure this out." And we call back to the local treatment place, and we kind of explain what's going on, that I'm not really dual diagnosed. It's just kind of a vision problem. And it says, "Well, we've got your urines, and we'll, if you can stay sober for the next 6 days on your own, and you come in and take a urine, and your urines have dropped, we'll take you back." So I spent my first 5-6 days in a local motel detoxing on my own off of methamphetamine. And that's how bad I wanted it. I wanted a better life. I wanted a life. I wanted to be able to feel. And that's what I did for those 6 days. And I was admitted into that treatment center, and they had me sleeping on my stomach because they was afraid I had fluid in my lungs or something. And they're afraid I was going to vomit and choke on it because I couldn't breathe. And I remember every breath that I was taking, I thought it might be my last. And it was very difficult. Something I wouldn't wish on anybody. So I go through that program. I'm about to graduate, and this is during the outbreak of COVID, and I'm not feeling very well, and I go down and say something, and they tell me to go up to my room, and we'll be up in a minute. And I said, okay. So I'm sitting in my room, and they come up, and they take my temperature, and then they have me smell this little cup of, looks like water. And can you smell anything? No, I can't smell nothing. So, okay, we'll be back. And they come back. Well, we have a cab coming for you. I was like, okay. And where am I going? I don't know, but you can't stay here. We think you have COVID. And we can't have you passing COVID to 60, 70 other people. So a week before that, I was so close to getting out that I'd called Good Shepherd Ministry, Sober Living. And I'd talked to the director, and we'd set up something, told me to call him, keep coming, keep calling until I got out. And so I was asked to leave from the treatment center, and I went back to the same motel that I just came from 2 months prior. And, I had a big decision to make. I had some money on me, and the decision was to stay sober still. And I proceeded to call the director of Good Shepherd, and he told me if I could pass a urine test and a drug test, that they'd give me a shot. And I took a COVID test. I passed that, passed a drug test, and that was November 3rd, 2021. And my clean date is September 3rd, 21. Here in about 2 weeks, I'll have 2 years clean. When I got to Good Shepherd, I really didn't have a work ethic. I didn't have any people skills. I hadn't worked a 12-step program. Really any of my life, I was just kind of white knuckling it. And, we get up, we learn some responsibility, some work ethic, and I start working a 12-step program. I start going to meetings. I start coming out of my shell. I liked where I'm at now because it took me a good 10 months for the psychosis from the drugs to leave. And at most places, that's not enough time. 3 to 4 or 5 months, it wasn't enough time for me to even come out of my shell, let alone make friends, or, as we call it here, brotherhood. So after about 10 months, I've worked on my steps. I start to come out of my shell. The psychosis leaves. I don't think anybody's after him anymore. I start sponsoring other men. I start walking other men through the steps that I'd just done. Because what I really always wanted was a way to deal with my emotions and that peace and that serenity that other people have. And that work a program. They have those tools to walk through life when life's bad. And I got those tools. I got those tools from somebody else who had previously worked the program. And when they work that program, the way we keep it is we pass it on. And so that's what I do. I sponsor 6 men in Good Shepherd now. Sponsor them, mentor them, take them through the steps, try to show them a better way of living. And it's a beautiful thing. I say the treatment center saved my life and Good Shepherd extended it. And I honestly believe that. It's a faith-based program. We go to church. We do community service work. We're actually out there making a difference. We're actually out there helping people, and that's something I was so selfish, I never thought of anybody but myself. And today I tend to think more about other people so I can help myself, if that makes any sense. That's how I stay sober today. I stay open-minded. I stay teachable. I stay willing. I have gratitude. I don't have much materialistically today, but I've got a whole lot spiritually. Today I can actually feel. It's really a beautiful thing. This program has saved my life, and it's not only saved my life. It's actually helped me to help others save their lives, which I would have never thought that would have even been possible. I was so far of a recluse that even talking and talking in front of a camera would have been, I couldn't have done it. And today it's that's what we do. We help others, and then through that we help ourselves. And I found that peace and that serenity that I've always been looking for, and I found my place. I'm finding my purpose in life, and that's something I never thought I thought I was just here, and I thought I was supposed to reach into that cookie jar and take as much as I could without getting caught. And today I'm putting stuff in that cookie jar. I'm building a better future for myself. I'm learning to be responsible, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I'd like to thank you. My name's Robert Cecil, and I'm alcoholic.